Hi, I'm Eric Horwitz. I'm an 8-figure entrepreneur, runs a company. It only takes me 8 hours a month to manage. I'm a business consultant with Win-Win with Eric Consulting, and I help fellow entrepreneurs scale their companies from 7 to 8 figures and literally save 20 hours a week in just the first 90 days of working one-on-one with me. This is a fun series we've been doing on how I fully delegated my company, Lift Enrichment, which teaches healthy cooking classes to children in the United States. 290-person team, teach 18,000 kids a week, very dialed in operations, very dialed in sales. And now we're talking about that next level step, the step that takes the entrepreneur from the CEO to something above that, where they are literally having the full thing operate, full ship delegated. You got your ops director, your sales director, and then up here is you. But you hire a president and boom, you have a leader of the leaders and nothing gets to you. Your phone never rings, your email never pops, because always things build up, and get solved along the way. In fact, a lot of entrepreneurs that just are like, oh my God, I'm getting WhatsApps all the time from my team. It's because you don't have a good team that takes care of things. If you had all the operations stuff goes to the ops director, the sales goes to the sales director, then that goes to you. If you hired a president, suddenly you are literally off the table except for key things. So let's talk about that president level position. So the president level position, when you have that leadership team running, it's going to have a 90-minute meeting once a week. And in that meeting, the full team shows up, the sales leaders. A good president who runs the leadership team has to know how to hire and train other directors. They are the head of their departments and they've gone up the ranks. In my case, that was the situation. My operations director ascended to president sometime in mid 2023. Yes, and then now that role has been off my plate for well over a year. If that person ever left, you can see it on the video Slava, I would hire and train somebody. I would do it myself for a month or two, hire probably some type of executive search recruiter and have that dialed in within 4 to 6 months. I'd be out of the game again, because once you have that dialed in, once you have a great team, again, I don't want to, she's great, happy to have her in her position. I know she's watching this, but that's the reality of business. Everything has to be able to run and be delegated. No one, including myself, including me, is so dialed into the company that they can't be replaced with 80 to 90% of all their work delegated. So let's talk about the highest level element, which is it's called the island test. If you're an entrepreneur stuck on a desert island and once a month somebody could bring you 1 page of numbers and reports and information, what would be on that page to make sure that you knew the health of your company? Those, as I've said in every other video, are the key metrics, those KPIs. Key performance indicators. The president is in charge of, say your company has 12 key metrics. President is in charge of 3 or 4. Sales director is in charge of 3 or 4. Ops director is in charge of 3 or 4, and maybe a couple other mid-level managers. You get that? You look at those every week, every month, every quarter, every year, and you now know the health of your company. I can look at those right now. I have a Google Sheet with those updated at any point. I look at those numbers and I highlight the cell in green if it's going well, red if it's getting a little off track. I don't care if things are off track for a week. I don't even care if they're off track for a month, but if they're off track for multiple months or multiple weeks, we have a problem. It's time to fix it. So when you have this leadership team, I've really only talked about operations and sales, but there's actually a couple other key things I have to mention. One is the finance department. The finance department is typically not going to be a full-time thing with full-time people. In fact, it's better when it's done with a couple outside vendors. Finance is so important because you have to look at your profit and loss statement. You have to look at your dashboards, and a key person has to be involved. So you're going to always need a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper will make sure that your profit and loss statement is in order every month that you review together. When you're at a higher level, I have a fractional CFO or Chief Financial Officer named Amit. I like him because he's dialed into the Dubai region. He understands UAE. He understands a lot of compliance. He understands we can talk about budgeting, forecasting, accounts receivable at different time points, and a bunch of other things. And he has his own bookkeeper team. But the thing is, I meet with him My president meets with him, and we all meet together at least once a month to make sure everything's dialed in. Your finance department doesn't have to be more than that. You don't need a full-time bookkeeper. You don't need a full-time CFO, even, especially at those high levels. I'm at 8 figures. It's still fractional CFO services, and that's gotten us to where we need to go. Obviously, you need tax help as well, but that's not really in the finance category. Next up, let's talk a little bit about marketing, because this is maybe a personal preference, but marketing typically for me is not a full team. I kind of tuck it into sales or have a slight one-off marketing meeting. But for me, I market lift enrichment in about 3 different ways. We do cold calling to school districts. We go to educational conferences, and we have a referral system that we use internally. And we also do in-person meeting setup. We don't do paid ads. That's not really how the business model works. But we do social media. We do long-form content making. But it's not enough that requires anything like a full marketing department. It's more of a team of editors, digital photo people, and maybe a part-time social media manager or part-time marketing coordinator. We don't even create a lot of flyers and stuff like that. We have a website guy. This marketing component, yes, this person reports to the president, but it's not a huge thing. But let me tell you what are huge in our world. The HR department and the accounts management department. The HR department is in charge of hiring and training those 290 plus chef teachers. It's a lot of people, a lot of management, a lot of training, and a lot of hiring. The next one is, this newer department, which is the accounts department. So we have a team of about 6 people in that department, and their job is to make sure all of our clients are happy, satisfied, and that score that they report on every month is good. So here's how it is right now in its entirety. President, sales director, ops director, accounts director, and HR director, fractional CFO, some marketing help. The leadership team that meets every week, every month, every quarter are the full-time people, ops, sales, HR, and accounts. The other ones are more tangential meetings. You don't need all that until you'll know when you need it, because your business will be so big. The departments will be so big that you need that. So you're running this meeting. Let's say you don't have a president. You're running this meeting every week, every month, every quarter. And now you decide, look, I want to be like Eric. I want delegation. I want freedom. I want more time and energy and money. Now we got to hire. So it's best hired, in my opinion, internally. If you have, here was my experience. I think I've shared this story before. I'll share it again. I went to my team. It was smaller, much smaller back then. I said, look, I'm CEO. It does X amount in revenue, X amount in profit. I just want to maintain this. I don't want to grow to 8 figures and beyond. I'm happy. All my needs are met. I can live in Dubai, lead a happy, healthy life. Let's move forward. So I showed them a vision, and you have to show the vision as early as you can in advance, saying, hey, look, I want a president who's doing all this. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm good. Been doing this for 12, 15 years. I'm done. And my operations director subs it. I want to do that. I said, okay, cool. Let's train you up. There's 3 key things to any position. GWC, from Traction by Gina Wickman. Get it, want it, capacity. Did she get the position? Yeah, she got it because she saw what I was doing for years. Did she want the position? Yeah, she literally said, I want to do this. Now, this is the hard part, capacity. Did she have the capacity to do the job? And the answer is, yeah, I felt like she could. She showed her how well she was managing the operations department. So boom, we sended her up to president. Since then, the whole team has been moving the company forward on not their own accord, but with some of my guidance, but essentially saying, look, we want to keep growing this because it's doing well. And with that, we had a full leadership team. Within about 6 to 9 months, she was running the leadership. At first I led, when I train somebody, I show you how to run the leadership meeting, you shadow. Then you run the leadership meeting and I shadow you, and the next, you lead the leadership meeting, lead on your own. And that's what ended up happening. Now, another key thing of a president level is they have to be able to fire. Actually, unfortunately, I have a whole video on how to do a conversational recap. When somebody doesn't do their job well, you need to confront them on it in a polite, constructive way. We call that the conversational recap. Watch that video on how to discipline your team. If multiple instances happening that person's not changing or they're not a good fit, you got to fire them and find somebody better. It's not personal, it's business, as they say. People don't like confrontation. You need a president who's not afraid and very polite and professional. Now, that president can talk to me. I'm here to support her and make sure she feels good and to help back her up when these decisions have to be made. Sometimes I notice the decision needs to happen. Sometimes she does. Usually it's more me because I'm not as involved day to day. So I can see when things are falling apart and we need to fix things. Next, the president has to have access to the high-level finance and financial information. Your revenue, your COGS percentage, your operational expense percentage, and your profit percentage. And part of that job is to make sure all those are dialed into place. I run a game of percentages. If you say, hey, my business has to have, I actually had this conversation with a prospective client recently that he didn't really know his profit percentage. Like, is it 15% profit margins? Is it 20? Is it 25? And this is actually with a friend of mine. And he said it kind of drifted. I said, look, buddy, you got to track that. Every month, you need to look at the trailing 12 months, 1 month and trailing 12 months. So September through October of the last 12 months, what is your profit percentage? Not the amount, the percentage. And he kind of realized, oh man, it was going down. It was like 25, it went to 20, and now it was in the teens. I said, look, you got to keep your eye on that ball because I'm a big believer in percentages, not numbers, because it's more accurate. And then the company scales up. So now you hit 3 million in revenue and your profit's 20%, and then you hit 7 million in revenue and it's still 20% or maybe 19 or something, but it doesn't move too much. So a good president, a good finance team with your president and you can help make sure all the percentages are in place, your profit and loss is accurate. But guess what? As a CEO, you still have to look at it. I look at the P&L every month, last month and 12 months, and I just try to use my little laser beam to say, is that dialed in? Is that correct? Why is that this? Why is that that? I ask questions and then they fix anything that needs to happen. So the next is when you have a president, you have to have your own one-on-one meetings. We do these on Zoom twice a month. We did more of these, maybe weekly, even twice a week, but eventually after a certain amount of time, you get into a good rhythm. And we know that, hey, if you have any issues or questions that aren't, if they're immediate, you can call me, we can problem solve it. But the same page meeting is dialed in the calendar, and that's a one-on-one meeting with the president to make sure all the systems are running, to look at the key numbers, to do anything high level. Because guess what? There are conversations that you need to have with your president that are not appropriate for the leadership team. They might know elements of it, but not the full story. And you don't need to crowd them with information that they don't need access to. But at the end of the day, I think you can tell one key thing, which is every part of my business is pretty open to the key people that need to be involved. There's really nothing hidden at all. There's so many entrepreneurs, I don't know why, they're like hiding their revenue. They're not sure their profit. What if somebody knows it's 15% or 20%? They can do math. Of course they can do math. Let's say your company was 20 million in revenue with 5% net profit or 10% net profit. Guess what? They can do math. They know that maybe you, the owner, keep 2 million if it's those numbers. That's okay because not everyone needs to know about it, but somebody has to be cued in on it. And I like my president to focus on that. I want everybody winning, everybody doing well. There's almost another video on the sabotage element that some entrepreneurs have. Like, I don't want to tell my team, what if they see success? What if they see that I live in Dubai? It's like good team members will not try to hijack you. They're not going to want to see you down. They're not going to want to see you suffering. They want to see you living a good life. Like, if anyone on my team is jealous or annoyed or angry or frustrated, my answer is like, look, if you don't like this, work for somebody else because I don't want that toxic energy. And also, you can start a business. You can work for 15 years. You can go through the blood, sweat, and tears. You can go through COVID. You can go through all the trials and tribulations to get to that point where you have some success and, you can wear a suit and have a beautiful view behind you of the blue waters here in Dubai. It's open to everyone. In fact, my whole channel, this whole series is about helping people who have businesses scale them up. So those are all the key points of that leadership team, that leadership department, having that president, having that person trained and ready to go, servicing all those departments so you can be more free, have more time. I help my clients with Win-Win with Eric Consulting, winwinwitheric.com. Meet with me. I'll show you how in just 90 days, I'm going to free up 20 hours a week of your time. And if you're there, if you're ready to really scale up that leadership team, I can help you out. Book a meeting. Thanks for watching.